You don't like my singing?
I think you sing beautifully.
Let's see. I'm going to make you just a little bit smaller. Just a little bit. There. How's that?
That is wonderful.
Okay. We're good.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yep.
Hold on to your potatoes.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright, and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's show, talking terminology, Pastern, and also the angular limb deformities, and also a case study about a mini horse, and also we answer a customer's question or a listener's question on the air. I can start all over, Mike. You got me screwed up. Hold on.
Okay. Blame it on me.
No,
because I'm the problem.
I just was thinking something. I was like, oh, I said that wrong. And then Mike's probably, I was waiting for you to correct me. You didn't correct me, so.
I didn't even catch it.
I know. Here we go.
I was off in zombie land. That's where I live.
That's all right.
One.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's episode, talking terminology, we're going to talk about the word Pastern, also angular limb deformities, and also a case study about a mini horse. And we also answer your questions and comments here on the air as well. All this and much more will be discussed here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And over to my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing better now, actually. I'm doing all right.
Are you doing better?
Yes. How are you doing?
I am doing spectacular.
Anything exciting happened this week? You mentioned something that you were working like double time or something?
Well, last few weeks with the... There. Last few weeks with the horses that have been coming down from the north for the winter, and events that are coming up, and getting everybody ready for their big deal of the year and all that, and they're packing out and heading back north, some of them. And so things are changing and going more into springtime work. My business does not slow down in the winter. In fact, sometimes it's busier.
Because the snowbirds are bringing down their horses here.
There's a good many horses that come down for winter training. And, then we are preparing for the competitions. And some of them are coming down just for tune-up for competitions. And we do what we need to do for the setup for wherever they're competing. And there you go. And they're just hustling, trying to keep up, get them all done.
Well, I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to keep up. I don't know if when you pulled up in the driveway this morning, did you notice a car was missing?
There's a car missing.
There is a car missing. Do you know what car is missing?
The car that's not here.
Well, my wife's car is missing.
Your wife's car is missing.
Is there an echo in here?
Yes, there is.
Well, just to let you know, my wife's car is missing because my wife is on a business trip.
Because your wife is missing.
Exactly. For 5 days, my wife is on a business trip. So, with that being said, Mike, and everything that goes on here on the property, what does that mean for me?
You can loaf and get away with things for a few days, and then when she goes back, you got to hustle and straighten everything up.
No, it means I have to hustle and straighten everything up now because I'm the only one on the property that's moving the horses between pastures, cleaning the stalls and brushing the horses down because they've been rolling out in the field. And if it rains, I got to rotate the horses back into into the barn and out of the barn and feed the horses and hay the horses and water the horses and talk to the horses and do all the horse stuff. In the morning and at night, all the people who own horses. Now, as you guys know, I'm the simpleton. I know very little about horses. I know my wife has trained me how to move the horses and how to lead the horse and make sure it goes in the stall and make sure you keep the horse's head up so it doesn't wander around. The difference is when I move the horses out of the barn into the pastures and stuff, because we have a long walk, probably about 100 yards long, to walk down to put the horses in the pastures. They are all connected, but not.
You count your steps?
I should. I need one of those pedometer things on my hip. Probably put in an extra 5,000 steps in a day. But the thing that my wife does when she moves the horses from the barn to the pastures is we have this, like, what we call a grotto, big grassy area in the middle of our driveway. It's huge grassy area. It's got trees and stuff, but lush, tall fescue. She'll let the horse graze as she's walking down the path to bring him into the pastures. She'll let Diego graze. She'll let Dominique graze. Not when Daddy's doing it. When Daddy's doing it, this is business. I've got other stuff to do. I don't have time to sit here, and the horse's head will kind of lean towards the grass, and nope, yank that horse's head right back up. We're going to the gate, and that's it. That's it. You have the grass out there in the pasture. You're going to eat that grass. You're not going to eat along the way. You ruin your dinner.
They don't get dessert if they ruin their dinner.
No, they don't get anything. So as they're walking down the gravel path, my wife will let them go out there and graze a little bit. I hate to see them. I want them to be happy. I love my horses. Well, that's fine.
You're screwing up the routine.
Am I screwing up the routine?
Yes.
Or am I instilling better values?
I'm not touching that one. I got to work for your wife.
Well, this week you're working for me, Mike. No, because I'm the only one here on the property, and I've got to do this stuff with the horses. So, and the funny thing is, my wife is like, okay, now make sure when you put Dominique in her stall that she likes to be brushed in this direction and not this direction. She doesn't like that. All right.
Do you ruffle her hair?
Well, some of the pastures are still kind of damp from the rain and stuff.
Right.
So if the horse goes out there and roll, of course, that mud will get on him and dry up. This is all I know from her telling me. It could be total bogus. I don't know. But the horse will get mud on it, and I guess if that mud will sit on the hair long enough, it'll mold or cake or cause like a rash or something. So I have to physically get that mud off. That's what I'm told. It could be
following orders. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. And hopefully when she comes home, the horses will be happy. Everyone will be happy. And then I can go back to I'm normally the water boy. That's what I do. I fill the water buckets and throw the hay. That's all I do.
Well, everybody needs a water boy. They made a movie about that.
They did in my hometown of Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to answer your questions here on the air. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
Or do we do the question? Or do we?
Yeah, we'll come back with the question.
Excuse me.
That's right. No, you are correct. You are correct. Thanks for keeping me in line. So someone's got to. My wife's not here.
Okay. I'm just going to start calling you the water boy.
Yeah, that's me. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He was the official farrier of the 2018 World Equestrian Games. And if you'd like to see this video for every podcast we do, we have a bunch of visual elements that are here in the studio. Mike's got an actual half of a horse's leg that he's got here that's been, is it free? You said they're freeze-dried. And we'll get into that, why he brought that with him as well. And the way you do that is go over to YouTube and make sure you like and subscribe to Mike Stine over there. Mike, your numbers, it's amazing. Make sure you subscribe to him as well. Don't hit the bell or anything like that. Watch him at your leisure.
You can hit the bell.
That's what all the influencers say. Hit the bell, and every time we post something, you get a notice on your phone. People don't want to get a notice on their phone every time we talk. They want to take us and ingest us and digest us at their leisure, when they want to learn about horses, when they want to talk about horses, if they want to listen to us ramble on about horses. That's what they want to do.
And when they want to learn about the water boy.
Yeah, now I got a new nickname. Well, I've really labeled myself now. Now, our listeners out there, Mike Stine has a Facebook page as well, and he posts a bunch of pictures, a bunch of different articles. They're very interesting. It's a great follow. He doesn't bombard you with a bunch of junk and stuff like that, but it's interesting, some of the articles that he comes across. And one of the articles that he posted up there, he was talking about a bad saddle fit, or how saddle fitting can affect the way a horse's horses in general. So we have a question that came in from Martha Pickard, P-E-D-D-I-C-O-R-D, Pickard. And here's the question that she asked. The question is, do you think that the long toe, low heel over time can contribute to the deterioration of the trapezius muscle, leading to hollows behind in the withers? So, Mike, answer Martha's question for us.
Well, the article was talking about the trapezius muscle deteriorating from a bad, ill-fitting saddle. And when you drop the back and you limit the movement of the scapulas, you lose development of muscles. If they're not used, they atrophy away, right?
Yes.
When the muscles atrophy away, you get the hollow. When the trapezius atrophies away, you get the hollow there, right?
And that's bad.
Right. It is. It is. Okay. Going down to the ground, when you start locking up that shoulder, you start affecting hoof growth. And you can start pushing a horse towards, low toe, long heel growth in the front feet, if that's what's going on. Now, in a complete reverse order, if we've got a foot that's collapsed on the ground and the toe's running out front and the breakover's shooting forward and the horse is having a hard time mechanically fighting that, guess what? That sets the scapula. And the horse will start bracing and muscles tighten up around the scapula, and you will stop some of the movement. Then guess what happens to the trapezius muscles? You get atrophy. It's the same thing in reverse order. Does it come from the top or does it come from the bottom? You're going to end up with the same problem. A basic problem is just which order and what direction did the force come from that caused the problem.
And if you'd like to get your question into Mike Stine, you can either go to his Facebook page and post it there, like Martha did, and we can read it on there, or you can email Mike at any time at equinedynamics.com. Get your question in there. Make sure you put a return address, and Martha will be getting some stickers and some magnets and some free swag from us for her question. We like to thank Martha for her question. Now, talking terminology, the word pastern, the atomical area between the fetlock and the coronary band. Now, is this where we bring in the visuals? Okay, this is where Mike.
Let's bring it in.
All right, here comes the visual. So
there's visuals.
For every
not yet. There they are.
There
yet.
For every podcast we do, we have a matching video, and you can see this visual in real time as we're talking about it here on the air. Just go over to YouTube, search Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, and you can see this as well. So what are we looking at there, Mike?
This is a lower leg of a horse.
Now, it's a lower leg of a horse, and it's also been sliced in half. Flip it around so everyone can see. So you can see the coffin bone, you can see the hip bone, the funny bone.
And, you got to have the funny bone. If the funny bone's not there, we've got a problem.
So tell us what the pastern is in this.
Okay, the pastern is between the fetlock joint and the coffin joint, which is inside the hoof. And this would be the pastern area in the horse. Now, when you turn it over and you see the internal structures, you've got the long pastern bone and the short pastern bone. Here's your fetlock. Here, can we be seen?
I got you. Yeah.
Here's your coffin joint. So this would be the pastern, and when you bring it over here, that's the pastern. So is that clear to you?
Yes. So
boy.
Yes, just that section there.
Just that section there.
It's called the pastern.
Right.
All right. And what's the importance of watching the pastern, and what are the most common ailments that could happen with a pastern?
Well, high ring bone would affect this joint. Low ring bone would affect the coffin joint. High ring bone would affect the pastern joint. You've got a series of tendons and ligaments. A horse that has suspensory damage, the way that pastern responds when it hits the ground will start showing up probably before you see damage to the suspensory. Also, you're going to see with like tendon issues, contracted tendons, with tendons that are too slack, check ligament stretched out, you're going to see a completely different set of the pastern.
What else do we need to know about the pastern?
We must have one.
Every horse has one.
Every horse has, they should have 4. One on each corner.
Okay, so the pastern does refer to all four
legs.
All 4 legs, okay.
You have a pastern in the hind leg, you have a pastern in the front leg.
Now, are they built exactly the same way as this model, or are the rear ones different?
Well, there's some difference in tendons and ligaments in the back in the back end, but basically as far as the bone structure is pretty close.
Okay.
The way it loads is going to be a little different from front to back.
Are you good?
I'm good.
All right, guys.
Are you good?
I am very good. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the angular limb deformities. When we come back, you're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine.
Yep.
We'll be right back. You ever have Metamucil?
Yes, I have.
I've been drinking Metamucil, and I thought it was just a powder that would just dissolve. It turns into a gel if you leave it in your drink. And at the bottom of my thing, every time I put my straw in it, I suck up this gel, and it's like sucking like a real thick milkshake. I know.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that one.
No, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
It is.
Don't ever get old, Mike. That's what they say. Don't get old.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not doing it.
I refuse.
I plan on staying very immature for my age.
Well, good. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure you follow him on Facebook. Get your questions in over there. And the way you do that is to go to Equine Dynamics on Facebook and search Mike Stine as well. And don't forget, he is... Whoops. I got my list over here. Mike Stine was the 2017 American Venting Championship farrier. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we also have a matching video. It has all the visuals here. And Mike Stine is got a Pastern in his hand over there. And waving to me here on the camera is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
That's your cue to answer. I know.
I'm supposed to respond.
I usually, you're so used to this rhythm that comes out of my mouth without even hearing what I'm saying. You'll just answer right away because you know that's your turn to talk. Right. All right. So there you go. That's Mike Stine over there.
You're supposed to have a belt light flash. And
and a little bell ding. Like
bell ding.
Pavlov's dog.
Yes, exactly.
Now, we're going to talk about the angular limb deformities, and this refers to the lateral or medial deviation of the limb when viewed from front or rear. So let's talk angular limb deformities. Can you use that as a...
We can use this.
As a model?
We can use this as a model.
Okay, I'm going to switch the cameras here. So here we go.
Well, we're talking about angular limb deformities. Medial is to, we'll call this the horse's body here. Medial is to the center line of the body. Lateral is to the outside.
Okay.
And anywhere up the bone column of the leg, you can have some angular limb deformities. You can have angular limb deformities in the coffin joint itself, where the coffin joint is tweaked
downward more.
In or out.
Okay. Left to right.
Left or right. And anything up into the pastern, where the pastern can go left or right, you can have, it could start up in the knee easy enough. If you've got a knee that's offset, everything down below will try to realign the foot under the knee. So you can have a knee that's offset, coffin bone set to the outside, and the leg breaking back in. And that's where you get some of these pigeon-toed horses. And you'll have misalignments in the joints down the leg all the way into the hoof capsule.
Now, what causes this? Is this just the natural? A horse's just unique characteristics can be, like I'm 6'1" and Mike, you're 5'11". Is it just the natural of how they're?
I was 6'4" when I started shoeing horses.
I'm sure you were, but I mean, is it just a natural? The way a horse grows up, that's just the nature of how it is, or is it not being worked right, or not being taken care of right, or looking after right, or finding the problems early enough to eliminate these problems?
Well, horses, when they're in the womb, are pretty twisted up. They're kind of balled up in there, tucked up. And when they come out, they hopefully within the first few days, the limbs start straightening. If not, sometimes we need to help them. And that's one of those discussions we're going to get into with limb deformities, where we'll have a lower leg. I've got one right now where we're dealing with a coffin joint and probably some pastern alignment on a horse that came to us at 1.5 years old, and we're trying to help this horse out best we can. And notice I say best we can because when you're dealing with angular limb deformities, the coffin joint, we've got, but if we're waiting till 1.5 years old, this joint is closed enough that we're not going to have a lot of effect on it. In fact, forcing it, we can create some huge problems. So when you get these babies that are crooked, you need to go ahead and talk to your vet who's involved and decide whether you're going to do something with it or not.
No, go ahead.
Because you got time windows as far as each joint closes. I'm looking at 3 months of age. I need to be getting ahead of this. By 4 months, I need to be pretty much done. But by 3 months of age, this is getting to the point where we need to do something.
Now, when you say do something, do they put like braces, like on Forrest Gump's legs when he was a kid, he wasn't walking right? Do they put
that would
physical...
be pretty extreme? But just with mild cases, just the fact of staying on top of trimming the foot, maybe putting a support or an extension glued to the foot temporarily. On these babies, you don't want it to stay very long because that foot's changing so fast. But we got a window here where at 3 months we need to be well into taking care of it. And as they go up the leg, all the way up to the knee, you could have up to a year or so. And when you get into this, get into the elbow, further up the knee, there are some charts you can look up. There's like 3, 6, 9 months, and within there. And if I've got an alignment up here, and I start trying to move it too early, I can mess up the alignment lower, because this will give more than this will. So then you need to start looking at letting these joints close. Then we can work with what's up top. And you need to have a good vet farrier team involved, but there's too many times. It used to be some years back that we would do a lot more with these, but it kind of got about, well, let's let them grow up and let's see. And then you start getting these calls, somebody bring them to the vet clinic. Well, he's 2 years old now. Remember that leg we looked at? Can you do something with it now? And it's like, and we don't understand why you can't, because the joint, we got a time window when those joint spaces start closing enough that we can't do it.
So,
and you're dealing with tendons and ligaments and all that. You have a contracted, ligament on one side, tendons are contracted. You need to slowly work that out so they're not. And some of that goes all the way back to when the baby was in the womb.
So when we had Pepper here, we lost Pepper last year.
Right.
When we got her, she was pregnant, and we unknowingly pregnant. So, a couple months go by, she gets fatter. We're like, why is this horse getting fatter? A couple months go by again. Boom. Now we've got Cayenne. Now Cayenne was naturally born right out here.
Right.
And just came right out of the womb and started running around. We never had a vet come out and look at her. Actually, I take that back. We had a vet come out and look at Pepper and the umbilical cord bag to make sure that she was born correctly. He's like, yep, there's good veins and stuff in the bag, the placenta bag, or I guess it was saying, and looked at Pepper. Pepper looked good. Looked at the pony, teeth, 4 legs, stands upright, and that was it. We've never really done. Now, granted, Cayenne is a yard ornament, or a pasture buddy, I should say, for Dominique, but we've never really experienced any kind of, like you're talking about, deformities in Cayenne, but we've never done anything for Cayenne to make sure that she doesn't have any conformities or deformities.
No, and there's no reason to. This is not, it's not going to be every baby. Most of them within the first few weeks, first few hours, are going to move around. Tendons, ligaments are going to start to stretch into place, move into shift place, start to tighten up. And, given a little bit of time, if when a baby is first born, if you've got that alignment problem, it's like, oh my God, we got to do something now. So give it a little bit of wiggle room. Give it a couple of weeks, and let's come back and look and see what's going on. And then we start making decisions. Do we need to do something with this? And if so, how much?
But you were saying,
but the problem is on the older horse, if we wait, then we're dealing with that for the rest of that horse's life.
Okay. That's where I guess where my confusion was, because you were like, let's wait and see, and I'm like going, we've always just waited and never really saw with Cayenne.
Well, and you shouldn't. Normally, they're going to straighten themselves out enough that everything is going to be reasonably well aligned. But some of them aren't. And those we need to go ahead and do something with. It's the same thing with your high-low feet, your clubby-footed horses. Is there a time window when we can do something with that? Yes. Are a lot of them taken care of? Probably not. Or does the horse pay a price for it for the rest of its life if it's not taken care of? If it is to a degree where it's going to cause problems, yes, it will. So, if you look at through the horse's life, if we do something on the early end of it, it will make things better for the horse for the rest of his life. Now, I'm not saying that every horse needs this, because they certainly don't. But we need to be looking at our young horses, and we need to be thinking. And if there's a problem, we need to take care of it within the time limits that you've got, restraints because of growth patterns of the horse.
But think about all those people out there that have had horses as a lawn ornament, and they've been out there and they've gotten, messing around. They got themselves knocked up, and that horse is born. And
They're going out to the bar too much.
And then that baby horse, full-size horse, grows up. And now I want to take that horse at 2 years old and break it. And now I want to take that horse or sell it to someone else. And that person wants to turn it into a hunter jumper or dressage or something or eventing horse. Because the person who had the initial horse wasn't planning on doing anything with that horse, then it feels like it's an uphill battle to fix what was neglected for 2 years.
Oh, it is. It is definitely. And some of the stuff you're not going to fix. And the deal of it is later on, how long is that horse going to have a performance career? And at what point is it going to fall apart? And, there's too many horses out there. There's fields full of horses. Well, he came up all fit 8 years old. He came up all fit. Why? And some of the stuff we do early with the horse can make a difference. So there's this big, horses are living a lot longer. Are we keeping up with that with their useful lives, useful careers, and all that? And none of them are perfect. I'm not saying that all of them need something done, but we need to be looking at our young horses and paying attention to this, because if there is something going on, that's where we can do something with his angular limb deformities. If we don't, there's horses out there and plenty of them, that have been brought into the vet clinic and said, can you do something with this leg? He's 5 now. Guess what? Well, is he going to have problems because of that? Yeah, good chance of it. Arthritic changes, whatever happens.
And how long can that horse perform at a certain level?
How long can he perform? How long can his life be reasonable as far as his usefulness? How much of his life does he need to be a lawn ornament? Some horses, people are fine with them being lawn ornaments, and that's fine.
It's an expensive lawn ornament, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's expensive lawn ornament. They're kind of pretty to look at, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even at that, when you got a horse that's 30 years old, I don't want to see him out there hobbling around.
Right.
Because of something that we could have taken care of when he was a few months of age.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we have a case study of an actual mini horse that Mike was diving into, so we'll dive into that when we come back. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He is now a licensed thoroughbred farrier through the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video. Go over to YouTube. You can see all the visuals here in the studio. And also, just a little behind the scenes, you get to see all the dialogue and stuff that we have in between breaks and stuff that Mike and I talk about. We were talking about my Metamucil over there, and he was making fun of me and calling me Waterboy still. And the way you do that is go to YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to YouTube as well. And you can comment and ask us any questions through our Facebook page, or you can go straight to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, or actually equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill out that little form. Make sure you put a return address, and we'll send you out some magnets, some stickers if we answer your question on the air. And if you'd like Mike to come out and perform a clinic at your location or your event, there's a section for clinics as well. Fill that out, and Mike will get you scheduled on board. And over my far hand side on board is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did I tell you that we did a little deal for the South Carolina Humane Society on the Friday or the Saturday?
Yeah, you said last week you were talking about. Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's all right. You can remind people that you did that.
Yeah, we did. And, I was amazed at the amount of people we got to come out for it. It was
great turnout. And it's a great way to get your word out there and
help out the Humane Society a little bit.
And get your face in front of a larger audience as well. Now, Mike, we are now going to talk about a little horse named a mini pony. Is it a pony or a miniature horse?
Yes.
Named Twiggy. Now, tell us about Twiggy. Now, we do have pictures of this, so make sure you're over at the YouTube page.
Twiggy.
Little Twiggy. So this is Twiggy.
This is Twiggy.
This is Twiggy's foot, I should say. So what are we looking at here?
Foot. Well, if you look at that, there is a flare to the medial side. The coronary band is twisted. The whole foot is twisted. And when you back out and look at the leg a little bit, there is some...
Now, between this right here and this right here, using our word of the day, is the Pastern.
Pastern.
There you go.
So the bulge up just right in that area is your fetlock joint. There's your Pastern, and the Pastern goes down into the coffin joint. So we've got some alignment problems with this little guy or gal, and she quiet little one, and she's been trained to drive. But she came to, this is, I think, first time I'd ever seen her.
Now, when you say train to drive, is she pulling a cart, or is she like at kids shows or something?
She's got a driver's license.
She's sitting in a.
She could pull a cart.
She can drive
pull a cart.
Okay.
So if you lift up the leg, you can, from your hock down through your cannon bone, all the way into the hoof. Now that's more apparent where you've got some alignment issues in that leg, right?
Yes, I can see where it almost looks like it's kind of towing in.
It is kind of towing in, and everything's kind of bowed in, right?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Some of that we could have started working with when this was a young one. At this age,
how old do you think Twiggy is?
At this point, I want to say 10 or 12 years old.
Okay, so she's still a teenager.
Yeah. Not for a horse, but for us, yes.
Okay.
And it's okay. Well, can we do something to help Twiggy out? Because Twiggy's kind of one-sided as far as pushing in the back end. Twiggy does Twiggy's job, and these little ones can seem to get away with a lot of that better than horses.
Now here's
horse. Yes.
Here's the rear end.
Right. And that is not an ideal foot. That is not an ideal alignment. And before this pony was purchased at the auction, there was not a lot of hoof care. So we got feet that are run forward on both sides. We got that alignment problem. We got to see what we can do to get the best situation, best strain off the joint as we can.
Now, what was
within reason?
What was the reason for actually calling you out to look at this horse? Like, did they say, okay, Twiggy's not wanting to walk anymore, or she's limping or lame or something like that? At what point did the owners have Twiggy pulling this cart? Did they say, look, we need to call a professional in?
They had bought this one because part of it was because it was trained to pull a cart. At this point, had not really been used. She's kind of off in that leg, and the leg does not work like a normal hind leg. And if you could see, if we had pictures of the higher part of the body, well, that's not even a straight on shot, but you would notice in the hips there's some definite differences in muscling. The horse is very one-sided, or little pony is very one-sided, and it can't really help but be. Kind of a back view, a view of the leg from another angle, and see how that foot is out at the lateral side of that foot is just kind of squashed down, the heel squashed under.
Yes.
Well, because of the growth of the foot, that joint is misaligned anyway.
She looks like she's standing with attitude, like she's waiting for the bus or something.
She is waiting for the bus. And we trimmed it. We tried to take some stress out because of the alignment of the bone column and all the weight being on that lateral side crushing down. If the foot was not maintained, that torques that joint harder.
Now, I've seen you've taken off a lot of that hoof,
right.
A lot of that toe.
Right. There's a lot taken off. We did scalp her just a bit, if you can see down there at that tip.
Right there's a little blood.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but this little feet is tough sometimes, and just trying to get the bone column alignment best we can. I'm not going to say I've never scalped one because they're dead.
Right. Now, will you put some ointment or anything on that, or it'll just clot up and she'll be okay?
Well, we'll pack it with a little bit of sugar dye.
Okay.
But the thing of it is getting that lower leg where she can stand putting pressure on it. We kind of had to go somewhere. We couldn't really put a shoe on her or anything, so that's what we could do. And with the foot twisted and torqued into odd shapes, it was really hard to judge what's good, what's healthy, what's not. When you're removing foot, you're trying to bring the bone column back to about as safe a place as you can get it, because of what this pony has been fighting his whole life.
So here's a straight shot of the back of Twiggy.
Right. And this is after trimmed. So we tried to get that realigned better, and we did go a little aggressive because, well, we couldn't walk on it. And, we're standing on it not bad after the trimming. And if you remember that front view from earlier on, early back. Is there any way to stick that one beside the last shot?
No.
Okay. Anyway,
sorry.
There we are before we trim the feet, and then we go to that last shot. Did we have one where the leg was shown? Okay. If you look at how that, okay. There we're getting drunk.
Is that good?
That's good. But the leg alignment has changed, and there's some pressure off the joints. Now, with the foot overgrown and out, going out the side, the alignment's we're not really going to change these joints. But when you have the flare on the one side, collapse on the other side, you're taking that joint spacing and you're closing it down on the inside, and you're causing impact. So what we want to shoot for is between the medial and lateral spacing of the joint is pretty easy with spacing if we were shooting an x-ray on this joint. If you have a foot that's grown like that and flared hard, when you take that shot, your DP shot from front to back, if that joint is pressed closed on one side, would be the medial side before we trimmed. What we want to do is get a release on that space, because we don't want that, we don't want that medial side of the joint pressed closed and impinged, because then you got bone trying to rub bone on bone, and over time we're going to cause arthritic changes, and there we go. So we want to minimize, we can't change that, but we want to minimize damage from that point forward.
So what's the latest on Twiggy now? When did you do that, and how long has she been like that? Or how long ago was this?
That was several years ago.
Okay.
When that one showed up.
Okay.
I'm going to say she's in her mid-20s now. She never was asked to do anything too hard. There was a couple of times she eased around with the cart a little bit, with the kid on it. And at this point, there is another one to replace her, and she will hang out there and hang out with her buddies and run each other off food and all that kind of stuff, and she will be taken care of.
So chances are her feet are not going to be, I don't want to say got the attention that you gave her, but she will get just normal trimmings and stuff from that.
I still see her.
Oh, you do still see her? Okay.
I still see her. She's in a place where, we decided to get someone to come in and replace her. Not that she ever did much, but because of that leg, we don't, she's not having any real problems now, but she's get a couple of years on her. We don't want to push it and make it to where that leg is a problem as she ages.
Okay. But she's good.
And she's happy, and she's taken care of. She's in a good place.
Well, good.
She's got veterinary care. She lives with a veterinarian and a chiropractor.
Oh, God. 1-2 punch.
Yeah, so things are taken care of. She's in a good place.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, one more little segment, and we'll wrap up the show. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Yeah, so it's me and my dad all week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Not that we're going to do anything. He just sits in his room and watches TV and comes out makes coffee at 5, breakfast at 6, second breakfast at 9, lunch at 11:30, 12 o'clock, beer at 3:30, if not 10:30, if you see him when we come out of here, and then dinner at 6:30, and then he's done.
Well, it's beer 30 somewhere.
Yeah, and then he's done for the day. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. Don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video with all the different visuals that we have here in the studio. And the way you can see that is go to YouTube, search Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure you like and subscribe over there as well. And if you'd like to drop a comment, I answer them if I see them. If I can't answer them, I'll get Mike to answer them as well.
We'll make up some kind of answer.
Mike will make up some kind of answer as well. And if you'd like to actually ask him a legit question, go to equinedynamics.com, fill out that little form there, and get your questions in, and make sure you put a return address, and we'll send you out some free stuff here from the show, just from being part, and to say thank you for listening to us. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis.
You didn't say anything about my haircut. I got a brand new.
I was noticing you had a high-speed haircut. You look faster.
I do look faster. I got my wife gave me like the side shaves and the little short on top, so I'm looking good. Just in time for summer.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you mean? That's
say you're looking good.
Well, we'll let the people on the YouTube video comment and say if I look good or not. I'll look at the camera here so you can see. There you go. So there's my new haircut.
He looks psycho.
Yeah, that guy's a weirdo. I'm not trusting him with anything he says. All right. what did we learn today, Mike? Talking terminology. The Pastern, the atomical area between the fetlock and the coronary band, and what should we be looking for, and how do I identify that? So let me switch screens here so you can see this. Here you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, with the Pastern, and we were also talking about angular limb deformities. We can throw that in there.
Yes. 1-2 combo.
You want a good clean alignment from your cannon bone down to the bottom of the hoof. The Pastern is this area, long Pastern, short Pastern. Here's your coffin joint. Here's the coffin bone, your navicular bone, and your cannon bone. The Pastern runs between your cannon bone and your coffin bone, and that's its Pastern. As far as angular limb deformities, medial would be broken to the inside, lateral would be broken to the outside. That's jumping the gun on you a little bit.
That's okay. Angular deformities. What are we looking for, and how do we prevent it, or take care of it as we come across it?
Well, we need to look at our young horses and make some decisions in the time periods where we can have some effect. Talk to your vet, talk to your farrier. There are some graphs out there that will show you has the timing that joints close between the coffin joint up the leg. And depending on what's going on, we got different time windows as to where we've got to be working on that alignment problem.
I got some homework for you. Can you find a graph that shows the age and time and put it on your Facebook page for over, what do you got, like 5,000 some odd viewers over there?
Yes, we can.
For our listeners and stuff to look at as well. Make a mental note. That's your homework for the week.
Yeah, we can find that.
All right. And also the case of Twiggy, the mini horse.
Well, Twiggy is living happily ever after with Twiggy's friends.
And what was the whole thing behind Twiggy and how Twiggy came to be in your care?
Twiggy was bought as much as a rescue, and the fact that Twiggy could drive a little cart around. And Twiggy is headed into her retirement. And after the initial trim where we were aggressive with it, since the horse was trimmed on a regular basis after that we were not very aggressive with it. Just trying to use a little rasp work. We weren't going to do anything to any extremes to try to straighten out the leg. We certainly were not trying to force the joint into alignment because it's way past that point. And at that point, you would create a situation where Twiggy would scream, "Ow, this hurts." So it was just maintaining the pony and trying to keep the alignment as best we can to minimize damage on that joint long term. At this point, she's headed into retirement years. She's not going to be, and her working life since she's been with this owner was very little and very light. And so she entertains some kids a little bit, and now she's going into retirement because she's doing fine on that leg, and and she can live there and not have any more stress put on that leg, and live out the rest of her days.
And I'm sure just putting smiles and happy joys on children's faces is always a good sign.
Right. And the fact that she lives with an equine chiropractor and an equine vet, that they can take care of problems as they see things, and they take good care of these animals.
All right, guys.
So she's in a good place.
All right, guys, if you'd like Mike Stine to come out to your event or location, go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says clinics. Fill that out. Mike will reach out to you and contact you and set everything up. And don't forget to like us over on YouTube. Search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on YouTube, and follow him on Facebook, and he'll have that chart thrown up here probably in the next few hours or so. That's Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on Facebook as well. All right, guys, on that note, we're going to let you get back to enjoying your horses. On behalf of Mike Stine over there,
have a good day, and if you need some water, call Travis.
My name's Travis, saying see you next week.
All of the doggies are in the corral.
Had to throw it in there.
Well, yeah.
No, that's fine. I don't care. What makes the show a show?
Dream of someone.
Hi, Lucky.
Good night, Ned.
Hi, Dusty.
Good night, Ned.
Good night, Ned.